Welcome everybody to the LFM Marketing Symposium. Today I have the amazing Dana Garrison, and her methodologies absolutely blow my mind. So I'm so excited and honored to have her as a guest. So welcome, Dana.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So Dana, I know we want to dive right in because we have so much we want to cover today. But before we dive in, can you share with us a little bit about you? You know, people always give me their bios and I think they're amazing, but I think it's more fun when you tell us about you and a little your story and how you got to where you're at. I think that's funner. So please share.
All right. Well, I developed these two new methodologies for helping people break through whatever's holding them back and reach their goals faster. But the way that I got there, the way that I discovered those things is kind of a windy road. I actually started out with this crazy illness that doctors could not diagnose. And I tried every type of doctor and therapy under the sun for like 10 years. I tried, the illness, it gave me chronic fatigue, it gave me insomnia, issues with cognition. I mean, all kinds of problems that made it hard to function and work. And I tried, regular doctors, energy doctors, Eastern medicine, Western medicine, all of it. Nobody could figure out what was going on. And what ended up happening is I just had to get on with life. And I eventually became a therapist. And it was during my time that I was a therapist that I learned something that changed everything. I learned that 10% of our problems in life come from our conscious thoughts, and 90% of our problems come from our unconscious habits and patterns. And when I was working with my clients, some clients were with me, in therapy for 30 years. And I thought, how can you be in therapy for 30 years and still not have the life you want? There's something missing in this toolbox, and that's efficiency. And so I started studying how do you change deeply ingrained unconscious habits and patterns. And I took the best of the best of the best, and I developed two different modalities: childhood re-imprinting and family entanglement work. And I took these two methodologies and I worked on myself, and the symptoms of my illness just started disappearing, just gone. Wow. And in 10 years of going to doctors without anybody being able to solve it, this was a lifesaver. And I took it to my clients that I was working with at the time, and the places that they had been stuck, sometimes for their entire life, they were finally getting those breakthroughs. And I was like, oh my gosh, finally, like something that's really effective and really efficient. And then I thought, all right, I'm working in a toxic work environment. It's been affecting my health. It's been making it worse. I need to get out of here. Can I use this work to break through my own money and business blocks? I want to start my own business, but I don't know if I can do that. And I used this work to do that. I kind of cleared my own money entanglements and my money childhood imprints and my success ones. And then I was able to grow a sold out consulting practice in a month and a half, leave the toxic day job, and then break through six figures in 9 months, which I wasn't even trying to do. It just happened. So that all blew me away. And then, other beautiful things happened, like starting to grow on social media, starting to work with big brands, getting featured in Inc. magazine, and just all kinds of stuff, sponsorships. So it opened so many doors. And I fell in love with this work.
Wow, that's amazing. So let's dive right in. I see. I just love your story. You're so cool.
Thank you.
Tell us more about inner blocks and why it's so important to break free from them, especially because I know when you have inner blocks going, and I know this because I've been doing marketing for 15 years, if you have inner blocks, it just, even if you have the greatest marketing strategies, it somehow perpetuates this bad energy, this bad juju is all I can describe it, because that's not my forte. So tell us why, we really need to get rid of inner blocks, or how it's really going to affect our marketing, right?
Oh my goodness. So one of the things that I've learned over the years that these inner blocks affect is they severely affect our self-esteem and our self-confidence. And because here's the thing, when something isn't working in our business or in our life, of course we think it's us, right? Especially we live in 100% responsibility culture. Like if you want to, you want to make your life better, take 100% responsibility. It's on you, make it happen. But that's actually missing some information. That's true, but up to a point, which is these inner blocks that I've discovered, they're in our unconscious. They're not part of our conscious decisions and thoughts. They're part of really, really old patterning that we're not even usually aware of. And those inner blocks are really the linchpin, the bottleneck, the things that cause the problems. They're the source of self-sabotage. They're the source of when you put your marketing out there, when you're going out there to get more customers, when you're going out there to network and meet more people. These are the things that we are silently emanating, and people pick up on that consciously or unconsciously, and they will abide by our family entanglements and our childhood imprints. So once you learn about these, it's so freeing because you begin to realize, oh my gosh, that's not my fault. That's actually not about me at all. It's this other thing. It's just the imprint. It's just the entanglement. And I can clear that. That's not like a big deal at all. And so you get that self-esteem back, you get that confidence back. And that is everything when it comes to business, right? Like the vibe, the energy you exude, how you show up in the world.
Well, it's absolutely correct. And so this is a part about your work that just fascinates me. And I love to learn new things. And when I started reading your work, I'm like, wow, family entanglements blows my mind. I read an article somewhere, and then I started following you, and it wasn't an article or anything you put out, but for some reason I started following you, and then I started reading about what you do, and it was just like the universe is like saying, oh my gosh, you need to learn more about this. And it's so thrilling. So tell us, because I sort of know what it is now, but I'm sure you're going to share way more because you're the expert, what family entanglement means. Like, how does that play into this? It's so cool.
Yes. Very cool stuff. When I learned about this, I myself was blown away, and I love it. So family entanglements is one of the main things that holds us back in life. Most of the time, we're aware of the symptoms of our problems, and we usually try to fix the symptom of our problem. We don't understand marketing, take a marketing class. We need to get better with our finances, take a finance class. But that's applying a solution to the symptom and not the deeper root cause. And so over the years of being a therapist, I discovered that the root causes, one of the main ones that everything seems to boil down to, is family entanglements. These are the generational patterns that we inherit from previous generations, and we start mimicking those patterns. We start mimicking those problems. So let me give you an example. Let's say that your grandfather lived through the Great Depression, and he lost the family money. The Great Depression is some big world issue. It's not his fault, right? But that leaves a lot of lasting imprints inside Grandpa. And that changes his beliefs and his feelings and his behaviors around money. So he's what I call the originating incident. He's sort of the first one in a chain of behaviors that pass down the generations. Now, let's say your dad gets born and your dad gets entangled with this money entanglement. So the topic here of the entanglement is money. But as it goes down the generations, the way it gets expressed can vary, just like a genetic trait. So let's say dad gets entangled with it. His variation of the money entanglement is that he goes bankrupt. So he has money problems, but his variation, he goes bankrupt. And then let's say you come along in life and you get entangled with a money entanglement, but your variation is you're struggling to break through that next level in your business. You're not getting the amount of customers or clients you want, and you find that you have what I call a money ceiling. A money ceiling is an amount of money you seem to be able to make or keep per year or per month. And the moment you start to go above that, inevitably, random bills, random fines, speeding ticket, need to go to the doctor, car needs to get fixed, something comes up and sucks away that money. That's a money ceiling. So it sounds like you're familiar with some of these, like I'm hearing ahs and ahas.
Yep, I'm very familiar with that. Not only from like money perspective, but just because I did that for almost like 13 and a half years in my business, and then it took some shifting, but I can see some old patterns emerging in the past like month. I'm like, okay, this needs to go away, but wasn't quite sure how to change that. So now it's all sort of making sense.
People tell me all the time how much clarity it gives them about their own lives and how much freedom it gives them just understanding this, because they're like, oh, that's not me. That pattern's not me. That problem is not me. It comes from somewhere else and I can clear it. But keep in mind, I want to say that just because somebody else in the family tree struggled around something doesn't automatically mean you're going to get every single problem in the family tree. It doesn't work that way. It skips people, it skips generations, just like a genetic trait. And another question I get a lot is, do I have to clear all of my family entanglements in order to have like a breakthrough? No, think of it like a scale. You might have a bunch of family entanglements over here weighing you down, and we don't have to delete and clear all of them for you to have breakthroughs in life. We just kind of need to balance it out a bit more. So it's not about having to do, 30 years of sessions. It's way more efficient than that. So yeah, I just want to kind of say that as a caveat because I get that question a lot. But it's so important to know about these because once you do, you realize it's not you. So let me share a couple of them just so you have an idea of a couple of entanglements and what they look like, sound like, and mean. So one of the really popular ones, really common ones, is called no permission for abundance. That's the money entanglement. So what you look for in your family tree is if someone else in the family tree lost a lot of money, gambled away a lot of money, maybe a bad investment, blackmailed, funny business around money, failed a business. Now, what you'd look for in your own life to know if that you're entangled with this is if you are struggling to break through your money ceiling, if your business isn't growing as easily or as quickly as you'd like, if you seem to get some money and it just kind of goes back out again. So those are some signs and symptoms in your own life of the entanglement. The second entanglement I'll share with you is called no permission for connection. And that one's an all-arounder, meaning it affects every area of life. So it'll affect business or career, money, relationships, health, and happiness. That's because connection is important for every one of these aspects of life. So the thing to look for in your family tree is if somebody else didn't get to marry someone they loved, or if they lost a love, maybe to an illness or an accident. And, a lot of times in recent history, there's a lot of reasons you might not have married someone you loved. It could have been race, class, religion, gender, right? Sometimes it happens after somebody comes back from war. So if you have relatives that went to war makes you have to build walls around your heart just to get through the day, right? So people will come back from war with this loss of ability for connection that gets passed down the generations. So signs and symptoms to look for in your own life include difficulty getting customers and clients because it takes connection in order to have lots of clients and customers feel that they resonate with you and they want to work with you. Another thing to look for is whether you struggle in relationships, whether it's the relationship you have and there's arguments, or whether it's finding a suitable partner. So those are just some signs and symptoms, just a couple of them to let you know whether or not you might have that entanglement.
That's absolutely amazing. So one of the other things that I think goes along with this that I read about too was child imprinting. Can you share a little bit about what that is all about and what that means and how it fits in with family entanglements?
Yes, absolutely. So that's the other half of the equation. These are amazing to know about. And childhood imprints are the negative patterns that we that we picked up during childhood, during our brain's imprint period. So our brain's imprint period is between conception and age 7. What was that?
I think it was a hiccup. Did I hiccup?
Oh, no, I thought I heard you say something. All right. The video is still good?
No, we're good.
Okay.
We're still really great. So no, this is fascinating stuff. I'm just really soaking it all in, and I'm sure our listeners are soaking it in because, you know, it's such, for me, it's so new, and I'm sure a lot of women haven't heard about this, and it impacts us when we market.
So sorry, can I finish explaining what imprints are? I thought that you tried to stop me and say something.
Oh no.
So just so you have the understanding of it, it's the negative beliefs that you pick up in your childhood during your brain's imprint period. And how it works is actually, you know what? Kaiser did a study. They studied 27,000 people around their childhood imprints. Now, Kaiser called them adverse childhood experiences. And what they found in their research was when people had adverse childhood experiences in their past, it greatly affected their health outcomes in their adulthood. Now, what I've discovered in my work is that, yes, it affects your health outcomes. It also affects your money outcomes, your business outcomes, your relationship outcomes. So I'll share a couple of them that are common childhood imprints so that you can kind of get a feel for them and feel into whether any of these feel familiar. So you want to think back to childhood and think back to what messages you might have picked up from the people around you that taught you about three things in life. One, yourself. These are identity level imprints. Number two, what people taught you about what people are going to be like or what relationships are going to be like. Those are relational imprints. And then three, what the world is going to be like, what life is going to be like, and that's global imprints. So I'll share a couple of examples of each so you can get a sense of them. Some common identity level imprints about yourself, include things like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't have what it takes. A couple of relational imprints that dictate what relationships are going to be like or what people are going to be like include things like, people can't be trusted, I'm not safe, or I'm alone. And global imprints about life, imprints about the world are things like, money's hard to make, I have to do it all by myself, and being successful brings a lot of problems of its own. So kind of like fear of success. And here's the weird, what's that?
I said, that's really interesting what you just said. So keep going. I'm sorry. I'm so fascinated.
No worries. There's a little bit of a delay. So sometimes I'm like, oh, wait, what? So the funny thing about these imprints and entanglements is whatever your imprints or entanglements say affects what you're able to do in life, what you're able to create or manifest, but it also affects who you attract into your life from a business perspective, whether it be clients or joint venture partners, or from a romantic perspective, a friendship perspective. So whatever we've got kind of in our deeper programming affects who we attract, what we attract, and what we're able to do or achieve or create.
Wow. So if people have all these either imprints or family entanglements, they really need to like clear the blocks, really, or clear those or release them. So tell me more about, so now that we understand what family entanglements are and child imprints, and I'm sure there's more detail, but like at least at a high level, we get it. Tell me how both of those can really affect our marketing.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Now, by the way, some of these imprints and entanglements change on their own as you get older. So it's not like you're stuck with them once you have them. Some of them change on their own. And of course, they're completely malleable, meaning they're easy to clear. It's not a big deal at all. It's really quite simple. When it comes to your marketing, the way that it seems to affect our marketing, what I've seen over the years is, number one, the way that we self-sabotage. Our personal style of self-sabotage comes from our entanglements and imprints. So if we have an imprint around money's hard to make, and if we have the entanglement around no permission for abundance, then we will tend to have self-sabotage patterns around money. And some of them won't even be conscious to us. So some might be conscious. We're like, I'm just going to go and, you know, buy this and buy that. I tend to be a big spender. So you might be conscious of some of them, but some of them are unconscious. And sometimes that I've actually had clients who've said, I don't feel like doing marketing. I just don't feel like it, or I don't like it, or it just feels hard. And then we clear their entanglements and imprints around it, and then they love it, and it's easy and it's productive. And the marketing they put out there brings in a lot of new clients. So even some of the stuff that you might think is a natural part of you, like, oh, well, that's just, you know, how I feel about marketing, or, hey, yeah, I've tried that kind of marketing. For example, some people, like, they try Facebook ads or whatever, and they say it doesn't work. But then we clear out their entanglement and imprint, and suddenly it starts working. So it's not always what you think it is. That's the root cause of what's causing the slowdown or the holdups. And the other piece is what I said a moment ago, which is childhood imprints affect who you attract and what you're able to create or do. So that affects your marketing. And people can feel with it unconsciously, people can feel your entanglements and imprints. It's almost like we silently emanate our entanglements and imprints to the world. And other people can pick up on this on an unconscious level. It's not like they're consciously going, oh, that person has, imprints around money, but they feel it and they abide by it. So when we kind of have this silent stay away order, even when we think we're practicing really good marketing tactics, that essence comes through and people feel it. And they won't consciously know why, but they just won't feel like they resonate with you, or they just won't feel like they resonate with your marketing. Even though it has nothing to do with you, it's just the imprint, it's just the entanglement.
So my question is then, can you share with us how do I say this? So not only with marketing, but along comes with sales. So if you have entanglements or childhood imprints around sales, it's the same kind of concept with marketing. Like, it can repel people, or they may not buy from you, and you could be following the right sales script. You could be like, yeah, that whole thing. So
you nailed it. You nailed it. Absolutely. That one that I mentioned earlier, no permission for connection. That's one of the biggest culprits of sales not going well, because oftentimes with sales, somebody's talking to someone else. And in that time, in that moment, the prospects just won't entirely feel like it's a yes. And their conscious mind might bring up these random reasons why, but unconsciously it's a feeling. And as you know, people make purchases based on a feeling. And that's like one of the entanglements that will get in the way. So you absolutely nailed that perfectly.
Okay, can you share really quickly, because I know we wanted to do a fun little mini session. Before that, can you share with us, like, give us one of your clients that's had a breakthrough using your strategies. If you have someone like around marketing or sales or something like that, or money, would be really fabulous.
I actually have a couple who have a few different elements like that. I worked with a woman named Jasmine who owned elder care facilities, and she had 2 facilities, and one of them she just could not get filled, but it was sucking money out of her because she had to pay for both the rent and the staff. And when I looked in her family tree, her father was a door-to-door salesman, and she's South African. They were in South Africa, but she did not grow up around her father. So you don't actually have to know your relative or even heard their story in order to inherit their patterning. And that's because these patterns get passed down through epigenomes, that's part of our DNA, and through our unconscious patterning. And so here he was, this door-to-door salesman, and he could make the sale, but he was so uncomfortable with money, he wouldn't go and collect the money the next day and pick up the signed papers and everything. So he was never quite successful in his business. Jasmine got entangled with that. That's the no permission for abundance entanglement. And when we worked together, we worked on that one. We worked on some other ones she had. And within a month or 2, she was able to fill that second facility, totally full. And she didn't even go out and do extra marketing. It was that her previous marketing worked. But also when she went out into the world and just was talking to people, like at a party, she told me, she was just talking to somebody. They asked her what she did. She just told them. And suddenly they were like, I have I need to have my parents stay at your facility. Like, the connection was finally permissible. It was finally an open channel. And her business
Wow.
went from 5 figures to 6 figures after that. So she broke through
Wow.
6 figures. A different example with childhood imprints is I worked with a man named Bill. He was a financial planner, a financial, what's that word? He worked in finance. And
Okay.
when we met, he was also in a 5-figure business, and he was working so many long hours, and he could not get the amount of clients he wanted. And we looked into his childhood, and he had this childhood imprint called I'm a phony and people are going to find out. It's kind of a variation of the I'm not good enough, but people are going to see that essence. And so we worked together on childhood imprints, family entanglements. And once we cleared sort of a cluster of them, he was able to work less, break through into multiple 6 figures, and have a lot more time. So he was able to coach his daughter's soccer game. He was able to go on a lot more family vacations. So you'd be surprised at the level that family entanglements and childhood imprints actually hold back our income and our business growth. But those are a couple examples so you can kind of get a real world sense of how it works.
That's amazing. And I am just so honored that you shared all of this with us. And wow. So my question really briefly is, how many generations does this go back? Like, can it go back further than 10 generations? Because the article I read before I started following you was like a 7-generation thing, right?
Yep.
And in my own personal family, and I've seen my sister adopted a little girl from Thailand when she was 2, and there's been some challenges with just some of her behavior. And I know a little bit about her biological mom, and she started exhibiting some of these same behaviors. And of course, I'm not going to share for privacy, sure. But then I read this article, and then I met you, and I'm like, wow, I'm wondering how far back this goes, because her mother's profession is one that's not, socially acceptable.
Right. Okay, great question. And you nailed it. So you'll see a lot of articles out there that talk about epigenomes, that talk about generational patterns. Epigenomes is a hot topic in science right now. There's all these magazines like Discovery, Science Magazine, BBC Health that are putting out articles about it. And the research that they're doing, yes, it goes about 7 generations back most of the time. And the most potent generations are probably the last 3 generations. So your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. But there are certain incidences that can happen in a family tree that last longer than 7 generations. Not a lot of them, but a couple. So you're right. The general gist is 7 generations. The most important is probably the last 3 generations. And it's okay if you don't know the stories of your family. Some people, they're adopted. They have no access to the stories. You can still absolutely clear your entanglements and imprints without knowing any stories, because I work with adopted people all the time. And a really cool feature, which you kind of brought up, which is when you clear your own, you're actually creating a protective factor for your children or your nieces and nephews if you don't have children, and the generations going forward, because you are stopping that patterning. But another cool feature is it actually goes backwards. So I've worked with people and they're like, oh my gosh, my mom had this breakthrough. My uncle had this breakthrough. And I don't recommend doing the work for your relatives. Like, don't go into this saying, I want to heal my mom. I'm going to do this, because that's actually going to make it worse for both of you. If you just focus on yourself, it's just that there's these wonderful side benefits that the generations after you and the generations before you also have changes and also have benefits when you clear your stuff, because it's a system. It's all interconnected.
That is so cool. Okay, so I know you wanted to do a really cool live, very mini type of session. So let's do it.
All right. So for this session, you don't want to be driving. If you're listening to this while driving or operating heavy machinery, not the time to do it. Wait until you're at a place where it's quiet and you've got some space and you're not going to be interrupted. So ideally, You may want to pause this until you're at a place like that. You want to be in a room by yourself and have about 3 to 5 feet of empty space in front of you. So if you're able to just kind of position yourself right now, you won't need to look at me for this. So just listen to my voice, because I'm going to guide you through stuff where you're actually going to be moving around in space a little bit, and you'll just need my voice to guide you. So let's begin by having you stand somewhere where you're facing some empty space in front of you, 3 to 5 feet empty space in front of you.
Now, should I do?
Now you
Should
can,
I do this?
if you like, you can simply face sideways like this if you have some space on either side of you to do the process. Or you could step us outside of the frame and outside of the video and just do it and then come back. Completely up to you. Great. I love it. I love it. So, all right. So, oh, you know what though? There's going to be some standing and sitting and moving around. So you are going to leave the camera. You will be off camera for part of it. Just by the by.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So go ahead and face the empty space in front of you. And let's work on the no permission for connection entanglement. Since it's an all-arounder, it affects so many different areas of life. And everyone here, we're all trying to like build your ability to have successful marketing. So you can think of have in your mind that we're doing this no permission for connection mini session in order to help you have more success in your marketing. So first thing is think of a relative who didn't get to marry someone they loved or didn't get to be with someone they loved. Or we want to choose a relative to work with. So, or do you have someone in your family tree who lost a love due to illness, an accident? Is there somebody who had walls up around their heart? They were closed off. Could have been someone that came back from war. It could have been someone that was hurt really badly in relationship and they just, the walls came in, or they were stoic. Now you may have more than one relative who came to mind. Just pick one, whoever you feel like working with today. It doesn't matter who it is. Just pick one that you feel like, or, you know, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And what we're going to do is we're going to imagine in a moment that they're standing in front of you. But first, let's have you close your eyes, wiggle your toes on the ground, feel the feet on the ground. Take in a nice deep breath and let it go. This time a slow deep breath. And let it slowly go. And bring to mind that we want to help you with a breakthrough around your marketing when it comes to connection and your audience, your prospects feeling more connected to you in your marketing. Think about some times that you've had struggles around marketing, where it didn't go well, or it didn't feel right, or you struggled with it. And think about how that felt. And then let's call into the room your relative. Let's imagine that a hologram of your relative walks into the room and stands about 3 to 5 feet in front of you. And you can imagine with your eyes open or imagine with your eyes closed, whichever works better for you. And again, you don't need to watch me. Just listen to my voice. Look at the empty space in front of you. Imagine this relative walks into the room and stands there. Now, if you know this relative, if you grew up around them, if you know their story, we don't want to bring any of your memories into this right now. I'd like you to look at this person as if they were a stranger almost. Forget every story you once heard about this person. Look at them with fresh eyes. And then go ahead and sit down on the floor if you can, so that you're sitting on the floor looking up at the relative. And for a moment, as you look at them, they've gone through some stuff in their life. They've had experiences in their life that had them closing off part of themselves. But a lot of times when you ask people later in life, hey, if you could go back and change your life before, would you? People say they wouldn't trade it because it grew them. Those experiences, they grow us, they teach us things. We develop spiritually and personally from it. There's stuff that we gain consciously and unconsciously from it that benefits us and that grows us. So for a moment, look up at your relative and look up at them and look at how they've benefited from what they went through. Look with the eyes of noticing their strengths. Look for how their past experiences made them stronger. Wisdom gained from their divine journey. All right. Now go ahead and stand up and leave a hologram of you seated. So imagine that you can leave a hologram of you seated where you're sitting. Let's have you stand up, walk on over beside your relative, and then step into their shoes. Step right into their experience. Put your feet where their feet go, your hands where their hands go. You can close your eyes, breathe with their lungs, and put your heart where their heart is. And notice if you can feel a little bit of what they feel like. And as you're standing in their experience, travel back into their past, as if you can go back and revisit some of what happened in their past that had them closing up or putting walls up. And we're going to play detective for a moment. Notice, what were some of their thoughts? What were some of their thoughts when they went through that experience? What were some of their thoughts about themselves? Did they think things like, I'm not good enough, or I need to close off, or life isn't safe? What were some of their thoughts? And what were some of their thoughts about other people, about relating? Now, when any of us go through a challenging experience, of course we have reactionary thoughts. The thoughts that you're probably visiting right now were reactionary thoughts just from that moment in time. Unfortunately, sometimes these reactionary thoughts stay with us for a long time, and sometimes we pass them down to future generations. So just notice if any of that thinking style, if any of those thoughts are in any way similar to any thoughts you've had. And now I'm going to call into the space, in just a moment, we're going to call into the space two of you and this relative's ancestors. Two ancestors from both of your lineages. We don't need to know who they are. They could be 20 generations back. But we're going to call in two ancestors who have an open channel with connection. They just have this openness, this warmth, this ease with connecting to people. They feel safe to connect, and it feels really good to connect with them. So let's imagine that these two ancestors come into the space, and they come, and one of them stands behind the relative, which is where you're standing right now, and one of them kneels behind you, who's sitting on the ground. Let's have these ancestors place their hands on your shoulders, the shoulders of the relative, the shoulders of the you on the ground. And for a moment, just feel their energy and feel their support coming from behind. And feel what that energy feels like when somebody's open to connection and they're warm and inviting. Notice the effect it has on you. let's have the ancestors place their hands above the relative's head and above your head, who's sitting on the ground, and turn on the vacuum in their hands. As if they could have a vacuum in their hands, let's have them begin to draw out these old residual thoughts. For the relative, these are old residual thoughts that were reactionary. They were in the moment. Something happened in the relative's life, but we don't need to keep thinking those thoughts forever. They were just momentary reactionary thoughts that maybe stayed a little too long. So they're harming, they're harmful, they keep us blocked. Take slow, deep breaths as you watch and feel the energy of these old thoughts being vacuumed out of the relative's head. And then go ahead and step out of the relative and go and sit back in the hologram of you. Sit back down in your hologram on the ground. And for a moment, feel the ancestor that's working with you. Their hands are above your head, and they're also extracting these old thoughts. But in this case, these are the thoughts that are part of the entanglement. Conscious thoughts, unconscious thoughts that don't even belong to you. They belong to this relative. You just happen to be entangled with them. So they don't even belong in your body. Let's let those go. Take slow, deep breaths as you watch and feel the energy of those old residual thoughts leaving, moving out of your mind. Slow, deep breaths. Watch and feel those thoughts releasing. And then let's have the ancestors place their hands around your bodies. Around your body, around the relative's body. And same thing, let's have them actually extract out of your bodies the old residual emotions, around no permission for connection. So the places where we might have not felt safe or comfortable, these old energies that for you don't even belong with you. They're part of the entanglement. They belong, that you inherited this pattern from your relative. So if you can visualize those energies in your body, those old residual emotions, and then watch and feel the ancestor vacuuming them out, so to speak, with their hands, and use your hands to help. Use your own hands to begin to pull and move those old residual emotions out of you while you take slow, deep breaths. We don't need those inside you anymore. They're not actually helping, they're harming. And when we're entangled with our relative, we're actually harming them as well. It's not healthy for either of you. So let's let those go now. And for the relative, we're extracting those old residual emotions because they no longer apply to the present. They were reactionary emotions from the past. We don't need those anymore. Let's let them go now. And then in just a moment, I'm going to step into your relative's shoes, and I'm going to speak some words of release from the relative to you. And I'm going to be speaking from their higher self or their heart space. So as I said, if you know this relative, if you met them, put every memory or thought about them aside. I'm speaking from the core of them, the depths of them, as if it's their soul that's speaking to you, not their past or their conscious mind. Your job is to breathe these words of release in, taking slow, deep breaths, allowing the words of release to trickle down through your body and through the cells in your body. So in just a moment, I'm going to step into the relative and speak some words of release. Imagine it's your relative saying these words to you, and breathe the words of release in. Okay, I'm going to step in. My fate with connection is mine. You leave that with me. It's part of my divine journey, and there's nothing here for you to fix, and there's nothing here for you to carry. When you feel connected to people, and they feel connected to you, you're not betraying me. It makes me happy to see you in connection. When you're connected, we are still connected, and you still belong. Stepping back into Dana, breathe those words of release deep, deep down into your body, all through your cells. And imagine it going all the way down to your DNA, so that every cell carries out these instructions. And then put your hand on your heart and bow your head forward. And I'm going to give you some words to say to the relative. So with your head bowed, hands on heart, please say out loud to your relative, I honor your fate with connection. And I respectfully give it back to you. It's part of your divine journey. And there's nothing here for me to fix. Nothing here for me to carry. Thank you for your blessing. When I'm connected, I'm not betraying you. And when I'm connected, we are still connected. And I still belong. And breathe those words deep, deep down into your body, all the way down to your toes, all the way through to your fingertips. Then I'm going to ask your relative to step forward so you can place your hands on your relative's feet. And with the help of the ancestor behind you, they're going to use their hands to sweep your body clean of any last remaining thoughts, emotions, physical sensations that went with the entanglement out of your body, out through your hands, back into the body of the rightful owner. Going back into their past, back into their history, so it can complete. So it can be put to rest. And then let's have you sit back up straight. We're going to have the ancestor behind you and the ancestor behind the relative begin to beam into your mind and bodies the permission for connection, this energy, this essence that they have of openness, of connection, invitational, warmth. This energy, this essence, this permission of connection. Watch and feel that energy coming into your mind and into your body. And using your breath, breathe it in as you watch and feel your body beginning to fill with the light and the energy of connection. Watch and feel your body filling with the light and the energy of connection. This permission for connection that's part of your family tree. It's part of your lineage. Flowing into you and being turned on inside of you, unlocking those parts of your DNA. It's already a part of you. It's part of your family tree. Your other relatives have this. We're just attuning your body to it, lighting it up, turning it on. And feel yourself filling with that vibrance and that energy, and let it fill the space around your body as well, like an energy field. a space around your body filling with this energy, this vibration, this permission for connection in every cell in your body and all around you. Very good. Take a moment and look up across the way at your relative who's also been filled with this energy, and just notice what's different about the both of you now as you connect with each other. And then put your hands on your heart. Thank the relative, thank the ancestors for coming to do this mini session with us today. Let them float back onto wherever they float on back to. And then go ahead and take a big stretch and stretch into your expanded self. Deep breaths, big stretch. And then you can come on back over here. Feeling good for no good reason. Coming all the way back to here and now with all of the updates and all of the upgrades inside and around you. So it can be interesting being the host and doing it along with us, because right after you go through it, it's a little bit like, wow, okay. And we're back. So yes, welcome back.
Wow. Can you hang on one?
There you are. We can see you.
Okay, that was really, really fascinating. Very fascinating. I want to do that over and over.
And that's just a little piece of the method. So, but even that piece, when I do these short form sessions with people call me, write to me and tell me like, oh my gosh, I got all these changes happen in my life. Like I got all these clients all of a sudden, or all of a sudden this rush of income came in, or I met somebody, like all kinds of stuff happens, even from the short form sessions. So just because it's a short form session, don't underestimate its power.
Exactly. So I know our time is very limited. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. And I know you have a free gift that you would love to share with the listeners.
Yes.
So if you would be so kind as to share that. And then also tell them how they can get in touch with you. That would be great. Okay,
great. So I actually have a gift bundle, a cornucopia of gifts to share with you. One is the Family Entanglement and Childhood Imprint Crash Course. So I call it the Get Unstuck and Finally Get What You Want Crash Course. You're going to get 2 guides, one on childhood imprints, one on family entanglements. They're really easy to read and they're short. It just helps you be able to figure out which entanglements and which imprints might be getting in your way of your business, your marketing, your life. And then you'll be able to hop onto the online crash course. So it's a video crash course. I'm going to dive deeper with you so you can really understand what these things are, how they work, because that helps you break free even deeper. And we're going to do another mini session, a success breakthrough session. So that's one gift. A second gift is I want to gift you a business breakthrough course. So a business breakthrough course to help you actually understand and have breakthroughs around your business in terms of marketing and sales. And then the third one is a breakthrough course around social media. So I was able to grow really quickly and pick up a lot of new clients using things like live video and social video, and a few different methods using different aspects of social media. So I wanted to actually gift that as well, because those are all part of marketing. And it's nice to have both the real world marketing tips and tools, as well as breaking free from your inner blocks so that all that marketing actually works really well in the world and you pick up new clients and you're able to help a lot more people. So if you want to grab those, you want to go to danagarrison.com/FMS. F like Frank, M like Mary, S like Sam. So I think that link is going to be provided. And Dana Garrison is spelled DanaGarrison. So danagarrison.com/FMS. And then when you get an email, you can email me back. So if you want to talk to me, just hit reply from the first email you get, it'll come to me.
Wonderful. That is wonderful. Dana, your interview with us has been absolutely amazing. There are so many takeaways here. I am so beyond grateful that you took the time to not only be here and share with us your golden like training. It's fascinating, and I cannot wait to dive deeper. Thank you for the gifts and the mini session, and I'm sure you're going to be one of the most popular speakers because it's just super valuable stuff that I think most people don't even realize. So this is really neat, and I am so grateful and so honored you took the time to come on. So thank you.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. My mission and my purpose came to me when I was in my teen years, and that's to create as much positive change on the planet as possible. And I realized the best way to do that is to unlock as many people as possible who are going to help others, to create really powerful leaders on the planet who themselves are going to help thousands, if not millions. And then my time on earth is exponential if I can help create all of these like totally amazing entrepreneurs and people just doing what they love and helping other people. So yes, totally aligned. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Dana. And for all of those of you watching, thank you for attending this amazing interview today, and stay tuned for our next amazing speaker in the LFM Marketing Symposium lineup. Have an incredible day.